What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the Gramercy Theater, a very important show for us because Morbid Angel and Revocation was the first show we ever covered, and now they are back, and we are here with Crypta. Thank you so much, Fernanda. Great to meet you in person finally.
Great to meet you finally, yeah, and thanks for reaching out again for me to talk about Crypta and everything. Truly means a lot.
Of course. It's so great to talk with you. The last time I spoke with you, Echoes of the Soul wasn't even out yet, so we were rarely able to talk about everything pertaining to that album, but now the latest thing we got is a new single, I Resign. Is that a good representation of maybe what a follow-up to Echoes of the Soul is going to sound like, or is that just sort of like a one-off, more experimental thing?
So actually, I Resign was recorded at the same time we were recording Echoes of the Soul, so it's actually a bonus track from Echoes of the Soul. It was supposed to be in one of the special versions we had of the album, but it ended up that it was not used for any special edition or anything. So we ended up releasing it a little bit later on, but it's still attached to Echoes of the Soul because it was recorded actually on the same studio time. It could represent a little bit of what's about to come with the new album, but it definitely sounds more like Echoes of the Soul. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because when I listen to Under the Black Wings or, From the Ashes or Awakening or Starvation, it's, every track is constantly pulverizing and very uncompromising. Is this going to be a sound that maybe you stick with Crypta, or do you plan to maybe experiment a little bit further?
The new album, which is being mastered as we speak, it's gonna be out soon. Still, I can't reveal. Our interviews are mysterious, right? Because we're always talking about stuff that
any release dates, song titles, don't say it here.
Yeah, we can't, unfortunately, because of the label. They like being mysterious, and I think it's a nice thing. But we're gonna have a new single out soon, and the album's gonna be out in some months. But talking about, answering your question, with the new album, it's still Crypta. Crypta is still there. Like, we have fast songs, we have lower songs, we have everything you find in Echoes of the Soul. It's definitely there in the new album, and I almost said the name of the album now. But I think we got a little bit more experimental on this album, so I would say it's a tiny bit more atmospheric than the first one.
Maybe a little black metal influence in there?
I think as much as we try not to go there very much, we naturally end up going there. But I wouldn't say like there's lots of black metal in there, but there's lots of atmosphere. And when I say atmosphere, I don't say like keyboard and stuff like that. It's just like we're exploring different kinds of melodies in this new album compared to Echoes of the Soul. Echoes of the Soul, I think it's a more raw album, and the new album we experimented a little bit more, definitely.
One thing I've admired about you as an artist is that your vocals are incredible, but also just the way that you approach the bass as well. Like, you have all the talents of when it would be Lemmy or Peter Steele, any singer/bassist. And do you express a similar emotion or a similar energy with both your voice and your instrument, or do you express different sides of yourself with the voice as opposed to the bass?
Yeah, I think it's different stuff. I always say to whoever asks me about, what I prioritize more or less or whatever when I'm performing, I always say that I split my performance in 3 parts. 33% is vocals, 33% is bass, and 33% is stage performance. Stage performance is really important to me. So what I do, that's why I don't go crazy with vocals. I don't go crazy with bass or whatever, because, I try to divide my duty into, split my duty into these 3 different things. So I would say that I can be really expressive in these 3 parts of myself and of my performance, but I definitely feel I'm able to explore a little and express myself a little bit more through lyrics specifically. Vocals definitely, because I love, like doing interpreting the songs, every word I'm singing very much. But also the live performance, the stage performance, that's where I put lots of my energy onto. So in the end, the bass lines will be the simplest ones. I tend to kind of follow the vibe of the song, like I try not to go too crazy, or like, because I just want, like, if that part asks for like one simple note on the bass, I'll do that respecting the song, so yeah, I like it simple. I like it really like following what the song's asking. And as for vocals and lyrics, that's where I put more interpretation, mainly on my live performance too.
Well, with your lyrics, which I find so incredible, whether it would be like, Shadow Within or like Dark Night of the Soul, but then, you open up with like Awakening. And like, do you approach things, does it all come from within your source of inspiration, whether it would be for lyrics or the music itself? Does it all come from within, or is there maybe like a lot of observation in a way? Because I like to ask people, is inspiration really something that could be sought out, or does inspiration more or less have to find you?
I think it's a mix of both, to be honest. And I love this question because I love talking about lyrics.
You're one of the first. Normally, I know a lot of people dread that question.
I love it, actually, to be honest. I think I think it's both. I think if you're silent and you talk to yourself for a bit, I think you can have like lots of inspiration, because like we are multiverses within, like we're multiverses, and sometimes we live our daily lives and we do not observe ourselves, and we have so much inside of us we could share with other people, and maybe they would find it interesting. They could feel represented on whatever you're going through, or a simple trait that you have. So I think this is really important, and I think with Echoes of the Soul, I did a lot of that with this more philosophical, psychological songs like Shadow Within and Dark Night of the Soul, and also, I don't know, Kali even. Yeah, many of the songs I was talking about myself, but for the new album, I dove deep within myself. So whatever you're reading on this new album we're releasing, it's basically shit I've been through. So I have property on talking about all that suffering. So, and I believe, like, I've been showing it to my friends, some friends that have been through similar stuff that I've been through. And some of them even cried. They were like, dude, this literally translates this specific period I have to go through. And that's what I was aiming at, both expressing myself, but also comforting people that were going through stuff that I was going through within, So I think definitely if you observe yourself, there might be lots of inspiration, but also the outside world. If you want to do protest song, well, our society is an endless source of inspiration, but also I love psychology, so I'm always observing myself and the world around. So I have endless sources of inspiration too.
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and I asked a lot of artists this too. Like when you have to confront your own personal demons or face your own struggles and trials and tribulations, to make art out of it, it's great. I know that it's very cathartic, but confronting that too, can that maybe make the creative process deteriorating or even traumatic in a way?
Definitely, and I have an experience my psychologist is not happy about, but I'll share here. When I was like, I have anxiety disorder, and there was a period that was really, really awful, which was from 2020 to the end of 2021, the end of 2022. So it's basically very recent. But 2020 and 2021 were my darkest periods, and I would have a diary where I would write about whatever I was feeling. Like it was. I used paper to unburden everything I wanted to say, and anxiety makes you think lots of awful stuff. So instead of talking to people and maybe like emotionally dump on them, I was I would just use paper. So I had like this diary, and I was like, okay, this new album, I want to talk about my struggles and a journey through pain, and which is actually one of the titles that I had for the album, Journey Through Pain. But
is that the title?
no,
Okay.
we found a better one.
Okay.
But it's similar. And I was like, okay. So, and I was feeling actually pretty well when I started the writing process, of the lyrics. I was like, I'm gonna read my old diaries, and that was fucking overwhelming. Sometimes I would read and I cried a lot. I was like, and it was also cathartic in a way that I was like, I'm so glad I survived this, like I'm so glad I'm better, because I was fucked up mentally. And then sometimes I would cry, and sometimes I would laugh, and sometimes I was like, okay, I have to stop here, otherwise it's too triggering. Yeah. So yeah, it can be overwhelming if you don't know how to balance that, especially because I'm all about facing my demons. Like, instead of, there are people who shovel down their problems and their demons and leave it there, which is a problem. And my problem is being the complete opposite. I
don't want to be a victim of your own product.
Yeah, I face them a lot. So sometimes I suffer a lot, because I'm like, okay, that's the problem, let me face it, and I'm like, oh, I'm too weak right now. So yeah.
It's truly an inspiration, because, especially with your music, with the intensity of it, sometimes it's almost like a fantasy in a way. I feel like you do become like almost like representational of it's almost like, and I mean this in a positive way, you almost kind of portray the demon that's inside, which is truly remarkable. But I think also you express that we are all human in the end, and that we are all flawed. And that led me perfectly into this next question, because I've always said art is life, and when you bring it into the world, it can grow, it could develop, sometimes it could even die. So do you think that, do you prefer if everything you write is more or less a snapshot of who you are at that particular time, or could the art maybe evolve with you as you evolve as an artist?
Awesome questions. I for now, like, I love letting myself go to whatever this musical journey takes me. But for now, I like that my songs represent what I've been through, because like, one example, and I don't want to brag because I know I'm not even close to the people I'm going to mention here now, but artistically speaking, and financially speaking, I'm kidding. But like, I remember when I was, I had some depressive episodes and everything. Some of the albums that really inspired me on coming back to life were Back to Black by Amy Winehouse, Lemonade by Beyonce, Ultraviolence by Lana Del Rey.
All amazing.
Yeah, and because I was like, damn, it's not only me. Like, they went through this kind of shit too. So I felt comforted that my idols, like would also face, like emotional challenges and stuff like that. So to me, it's really nice to think that maybe my bad experiences can comfort people in trying to overcoming their challenges too. So I'm really comfortable with this idea. And also, to me, it's really hard to sing stuff I can't relate with. That's why when I was transitioning from thrash metal in Nervosa to death metal, it was tough to me, like, to decide what I was gonna write about, because, for example, I love Cannibal Corpse and like Deicide and bands like that, but I don't have repertoire to talk about demons or like gory stuff. So it would be really hard to me to talk about this while I'm singing, because I interpret it a lot when I'm on stage. So that's why it's important to me that I write and sing about stuff I can actually relate to. Otherwise, it's tough to.
That's what I think makes you stand out as a death metal band. And I'm not saying this negative at all, but, Deicide sings about Satanism. Cannibal Corpse is more gory and whatnot. There's some death.
Some of my favorite bands, so I'm not.
Yeah. Some death metal bands are political. I think for you to get personal, I think is the unique aspect. Yeah. I have two more questions for you, if that's cool. But obviously, you approach from such an emotional spot, but you are in a band with 3 other people. Whenever people tell me, "Oh, we all mutually came together," they're lying, because there's going to be some disagreement. You're all writing songs together. So, do you all have to be in the same headspace emotionally, or could your different emotions maybe actually help enhance the songwriting process?
The 4 of us are very different people from each other. Like we have completely different personalities, and I think that's the usual in a band. It's really hard to have people who have the same mindsets and the same personalities and character. So, but since I'm the one writing the lyrics, to me it's easy. I always talk to them what I'm planning to write about, so I can also respect other people's views. Like I'm not put a personal view or a personal that they cannot agree with, because in the end it's the band. But to me it's more comfortable because they usually like the themes I'm writing about. But as for writing like the music, I think of course we always put a lot of emotion, but I think we put more of our influences when we're writing our riffs and stuff like that. So it's easier. It becomes like a cauldron of our many influences. So it's easier. It's easier. There is, of course, we all put our emotions there, but we play with that in different ways when we are writing music. But for lyrics, it's more specific to me. Like with songs, not necessarily I need to, like go to my diaries and to actually feel a riff. They usually come in a more spontaneous way. As for the lyrics, I really need to dive into the meaning of them.
And before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. Just one, I want to not only thank you for that, but thank you for continuing to tour after all you had to go through in this. I mean, not to make light of a difficult situation, but I think it's fair to say this will be a very memorable North American tour. But because I think if anything came good out of this, the fans represented how we all could come together, and you represented the strength to move forward, which is going to be, I think, one of the greatest inspirational stories in metal. Is there just anything else you would like to promote, or any other way that the bands could further assist you guys?
I get even emotional talking about this, because this we've been through was truly one of the most traumatic experiences I'm sure we've all been through. Me and the girls definitely was fucked up in so many ways. And I'm not even talking about the crushed RV and stuff like that. It was just a tornado experience. Like we don't have those in Brazil. I would only know about them from Twister, that movie. You remember? So
By the way, as somebody who read about meteorology, that was probably one of the most scientifically inaccurate movies ever.
Okay.
Just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for traumatizing me, Twister. But yeah, so I would definitely not expect going through that in real life. And we survived that. Unfortunately, a fan hasn't. And it's been traumatic. Like we're all like hanging on here in the tour, moving on, definitely. But we've all changed from that experience in many, many ways. Like it's been shocking. So I can just say I'm glad we survived, and I'm glad we're moving on, because I was talking to Trey, actually, from Morbid Angel, and he was really thinking after it all happened, because guys, you have no idea how it feels to know someone died during your concert. You have no idea how that feels. So we were all bummed out and super sad after it all happened. And I remember Trey saying, like, I don't know, should we move on? I was like, Trey, I think we should, because like I refuse to have this traumatic event as the last memory of this tour, which had been amazing till that point. And also, I think, like you said, I think it's important that we move on for everyone, that was there and wouldn't like that event to be, like the downfall of the tour. They're all like metalheads and so supportive. I'm sure if they could talk to us, they would say like, no, move on. So that's what we did. But I think the most beautiful lesson, and although it was such an unfortunate, awful event, I think the most beautiful thing we could take from there is the sense, of course, like everyone was so supportive and everything, but the sense of community that we could sense after that whole thing was the most beautiful thing, like one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. And if it wasn't for such a tragic event, I don't think I would ever be in touch with that kind of beautiful thing. Like, for example, there was a fundraiser for the family of Fred Livingston JR, the fan who died there, and they raised like lots of money to help to give some support to the family in a day. Like the same with us. We had our RV crushed, our rental RV crushed, and the insurance gave us bullshit, and we'll basically very likely have to pay for a new RV for them. And then we were desperate, and the metal community helped us raise $60K in less than 24 hours. If that's
tour manager told me about that, I was beyond shocked.
Yeah, so if that's not a beautiful lesson that together we're strong, together we can turn tragic events into beautiful things, together we can change lives, together we can transform awful situations into nice experiences, I don't know what else can, so the sense, I love metal way more after that tragic event. I fucking love metal, and I fucking love the metal scene way, way more after the tragic event, because I know I can count on the metal scene. I know metal is a global family that will stick around whenever you need. So that's the most beautiful lesson I got, is that metal is fucking amazing.
Yeah. My favorite quote there at a metal show, there's no such thing as strangers, it's just friends we haven't made yet. And
that's such a beautiful sentence.
I've never been more proud to be a metalhead in my life after seeing how you all overcome. Nothing will take us down, and you're gonna kill it tonight.
Exactly. That's the feeling. Like, and that's what I was talking to Trey. I was like, Trey, no, we have to move on and kill it every night on stage, like to show that, yeah, we're still standing. Metal is still standing, and thanks to you, we're still standing. To keep us exchanging this love for metal every night, and by the end of the tour, we'll be there celebrating the life of Fred Livingston Jr., celebrating life, celebrating the metal community, celebrating this tour, which is amazing. So that's it. It was just so beautiful to see. There were fans donating $1. There were fans donating nearly $2K. There was Gary Holt and Angela Gossov and Derek Green donating, like all these idols I've had for years. So we're just a big family. And it was a tragic event, and I know lots of people will never recover mentally from that, and Fred lost his life. But if we could take something good out of that terrible situation, is that metal as a community is unbeatable.
Absolutely. And this interview is dedicated to you, Fred. Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Crypta. If you haven't checked out Echoes of the Soul, be sure to check that out. Metal will never be taken down. Nothing can stop us. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York, everybody.